We've been waiting with bated breath, but the numbers are in. Stick around, we have your November market update coming right up. Hello Central Maine, welcome back to the channel. It is your realtor Nick Isgro with eXp Realty, and as I just said at the beginning, today we're going to break down all of the relevant numbers so that you know exactly what is going on in the real estate market right here in Central Maine. Now, before I do that, I want to welcome you here to the channel. If you've never been here before, we cover all things real estate here in the state of Maine, but particularly in the Central Maine market. If that's of interest to you or adds value to your process in the buying and selling of homes, or if you just like real estate, do me a favor, go ahead and hit the like button on this video, hit subscribe, knock that little alarm bell. You'll be notified every time we put out new content. As always, we are going to start right at the top and make our way through a lot of data, and at the end, hopefully paint an entire picture, because no one piece of data can really paint the entire story or tell us what's going on. So we have to look at it really for the trend lines as well as taking it all in its entirety. I want to start right off with new listings. All right, so new listings coming out of the month of September, headed into November. During the last month, we had 142 new listings. So certainly this is a drop from the month before. And actually it's a little bit of a drop from the year before. A year ago we had 162 new listings during the same time period. But I think overall we could say that this is a decent seasonal trend. We would expect after we get through the summer months, we head into the fall, particularly during the months of September and October, we'll see a little bit of that downward trend of new listings coming onto the market. Let's head right over and see what's going on in the sales activity. We're going to start with pended listings, and let's bring that up now. This is an important number. Take a look at this graph. Pended listings, 89 pended listings. That's listings that went into escrow during the month of October. Huge drop off. In fact, a year ago during the same time period, we had 189 pended listings. That's more than half drop. That means there's a lot less sales activity going on. At least there was during the month of October. Now that we're into November, typically we don't pick up during this time. Will be interesting to follow the trend, but definitely we see a drop in sales activity. So this is going to translate as we get into the month of November and head into December. We should see a big decrease in the number of sold properties, although there will be some holdovers of, other homes that maybe were under contract or maybe were cash deals that went a little bit quicker or were delayed from a previous time period. But overall, if this is setting the stage for the next month's sales, this is a big drop. So I think this is a big number. Will be interesting to see as we play out through the rest of these. Let's head right over to sold listings right now. Sold listings 163, definitely a drop. This is probably indicative of a slowing market right here, because as we've seen, we just saw the drop in pended listings. Remember, the month before, we also had a decrease in those pended listing activity. So less homes going into escrow, less homes overall being sold. What is that doing to the overall inventory? Because here's where we're going to start to bring this together. Overall active listings, 342, a little bit down from last month, but you can see we're just maintaining these elevated statuses here on the active listing. Now remember, we're still at a very historically low time period for inventory. We're going to get to those numbers, and that's going to be more important than some of what we're looking at right now. But interesting note, this is about 30 more listings than we had a year ago during the same month. So 30 more homes. How does that increase supply? What is that doing to days on market? What is that doing to price points? Who knows? Let's take a look. First thing I want to jump into right now is months of supply on the market. Now remember, the months of supply on the market is the number of homes that if we were to sell everything we had, we put no new homes on the market and continued to sell at the current pace that we're selling at. So we are selling at a little bit of a slower pace. What would that look like if we were to sell everything we had? 1.36 months of supply on the market. So definitely up from last month. Remember, it was 1.1 month. First couple of months we've seen in over a year where we've had more than 1 month of supply on the market. But when we consider that nationally, you're looking at about 3.5 months of supply in the market, and we look at a balanced market being about 6 months of supply of homes on the market, this is what is going to continue to drive the prices, and this is why I really do not believe we're going to have some major crash in the house prices here in the Central Maine market. We might see a little bit of negative depreciation depending on where people are, if they're in a specifically overheated market, but for your average home in your average town here in the state, I just don't see it unless this particular number changes right here, because without the supply, there's just no other pressure that I can see that's going to be putting onto that pricing. Although it has softened a little bit, let's take a look there. For you buyers out there, there are definitely some bright spots, so let's get right to it. First, average days on market, once again, just over 28 days on the market. It's almost exactly the same as we had last month, but as you can see from the graph, definitely hovering off, which means that sales activity was somewhat consistent with the month before as far as how long homes are sitting on the market. But it also means when you look at this that it's not like it was last spring when we were selling 10, 13, 14 days on the market. For you sellers out there, here's what's important to note. If you list your home and you don't get an offer in the first 2 weeks, there's really nothing to worry about. In fact, that might be expected because as you can see from the numbers that we just showed you, the average days on market is really almost a full month on the market right now. For you buyers out there, it does mean that there's a little bit more time. It means that when you look at a home, you see a home you like, obviously you want your real estate agent speaking to their agent, making sure there's no other offers on the table. But by and large, it means that there's going to be a lot more room for you to go home and really think about the homes that you're looking at before you make a decision about putting in an offer. So what does this do to price as far as at least the sale to list price ratio? So remember, the sale to list price ratio is when you list the home at a certain price, how much of that price actually gets hit. So if you listed for $100,000, it sells for $100,000, that's 100% sale to list price ratio. Coming up right now as we look at what's happened over the last month. Once again, just under 199% or 99.4% here. Again, I do want to take a look at this because it's important to note here. It looks like people who are putting bids on houses are negotiating somewhat. It means there's some negotiation room on the market that's getting these on average sold for less than the asking price. But this is the sale to list price ratio. The sale to original list price ratio, once again, is just over 96%, which means that there's also a lot of price reductions cooking into the market right now, catching up from that late summer market where things were hot. There was a little bit of a shift in the market. Some of that is now coming through with price reductions for what was already listed on the market as people try to get that summer and early fall inventory moved through the marketplace. So the last number I want to bring up here, and this is the first time I'm doing it in the kind of trend style, which was actually from one of the comments on one of the videos. So thank you so much for that, for putting that comment out there. I do listen to you guys, and a lot of times the advice you give might be really good, and if it is, I want to make sure I implement it to make sure that you're as best prepared as possible going to the market. The average sold price here in Kennebec County, $317,000. So $317,000, you can see it was up from a year ago, but just look at the trend line, and I think this is what's important. Yes, there's been a little bit of up, a little bit of down, but by and large, it's been really a steady climb, not necessarily crazy. There was a big spike. You can see that in there, and it actually caught up with itself. It dropped off, but then we're still on that steady increase, which goes to show why I think that it is probably accurate for those forecasts that are saying that there's still going to be appreciation in the near future over the coming year, barring some major catastrophic event. But unlike in the last year where it was 10, 12, 14% appreciation on the homes, it's going to be much more to that 1, 2, 2.5, 3%, depending on your market and specifics to your home, appreciation on the market. And this trend line is showing that. It shows that there's been, by and large, a slow but steady price growth in the market. I would expect to see this trend line continue at least over the coming months as we head into the new year. So that's really it for today. Overall, what we are seeing is kind of just the continued monitoring of this shift in the marketplace. I think we have a few less houses going on. That's more of a seasonal trend. The big number to watch is these pended listings and how that translates into future sold listings, because if we continue at the slower rate of pended listings, that's going to eventually translate into fewer sold listings, which should ultimately bump up the inventory depending on how those homes are coming onto the market. What that does with pricing is really hard to say. Again, we're only a little bit over a month of inventory in the market, not even a month and a half of supply on the market. So pended listings months of supply that we have on the market here in Central Maine. Those are going to be the real factors I think we should keep an eye on in this market as we head over the coming months, because I think that's going to have the most bearing on what ultimately happens with home pricing. Now, if you are in the market right now, or you've been thinking about getting into the market, and these data points seem relevant to you, or maybe they don't seem relevant, it's not really what you've been experiencing, either way, go ahead and drop a comment below. Always love to hear from you there. If you are thinking about getting into the market, you need a real estate professional to speak to you about your process, to maybe guide you through that. Always, of course, all of my contact information is linked in the post below. Please feel free to reach out at any time. Of course, I thank each and every one of you for sticking around to the end of this video, and until the next one, we'll see you next time.